So thank you. First of all, I've got so many people to thank, so I'm not going to do it all, but mainly to Flavius. Thank you so much for having us all and inviting us to this beautiful city, Oradea. I definitely would have come to Romania at some point in my life. I'm not sure I would have come here, but I have now, so thank you very much. So yeah, I'm Jesse Rawlings, and I'll talk a little bit about who I am as we go. And the two things I'm going to focus on today have already been introduced to you by Debbie, Jake, Sandu, Rick. Everyone's kind of stolen what I was going to say. So I was going to book a flight and go home, but I won't. I'll stay, and I'll, again, a bit like Jake, I'll just take you through my journey of where I've been. So that's me in the sunshine. This photo was not taken in England, where I currently live, because it's sunny. So that's me, and I'm from New Zealand. I'll go through this quickly. I'm from New Zealand. Has anyone been to New Zealand? No one. I was going to get Rick to give out a sticker. Yes, Tony is going in January, December, to see his son who lives there. Best decision he's ever made. Give him a sticker. So I'm from New Zealand. I've probably come a lot further than everyone else to get here to Romania. I currently live in the UK in Liverpool, where Debbie was born, and I'm trying to travel and experience the world. So a little bit about me and what I value. I like to be curious. I like to be open-minded. I like to learn. I believe football and coaching is a form of educating, but also to be educated. And I believe everyone in this room has come probably because you are curious about football and young people and kids and getting better. So that's fantastic. I prioritize enjoyment. I like to have a lot of fun. We're going to have some fun hopefully in a minute. Nothing silly. I like to develop a range of experiences. I've been a player, a referee. I've commentated live on TV. I've commentated international football. I've been a coach. Sometimes I'm a teacher. I believe in ranges of experience and doing as many things as you can. I've played every sport under the sun. I know Romania has a decent reputation in rugby. Not maybe as good as New Zealand's, but it's okay. And so I play all sorts of sports: rugby, tennis, cricket, basketball. And the most important thing for me is building relationships and connections with people. And without that, I wouldn't be here. So hopefully by the end of this and by the time we go home, I've built a reasonable relationship and connection with you guys. And we're going to talk about relationships and connections now. So I'm going to ask you guys some questions throughout this presentation, okay? And you're going to need to just answer them in your group. I'm not going to get anyone to answer on the microphone in front of everyone, but I want us to connect with new people. Does that sound okay? So we're going to do two things. Number one, everyone's going to stand up and find a new table. And I know you're like, oh, but that's why you're here, okay? You're going to meet some new people. The second one is you're going to introduce yourself to everybody on the table. Now, in the UK, we normally introduce ourselves by, rather than making eye contact, we look the other way and we go, all right. And we don't really care what they say. That's how the English would do it. No offense, of course. Okay, in New Zealand, we have a slightly different way of introducing ourselves. It's called a hongi. So Rick, you're going to demonstrate a hongi with me. You don't have to do this, but you can, if you can. Okay, so has anyone heard of the All Blacks? They do the haka. Okay, so Māori culture is our New Zealand culture. The hongi is a Māori introduction. So we would walk together, we would shake hands, we would close our eyes, and our noses will touch for 1 second. And we will take a breath, and then we will carry on. Okay, ready? That's a hongi. You can introduce yourself with a hongi. You can introduce yourself with a bro slap. Introduce yourself however you like, okay? But everyone needs to move tables, all right? You've got 1 minute. Go. Okay, so you guys will all meet Tony tomorrow night, but he's just going to keep going around meeting people. That's what he's like. Okay, we'll do a hongi at the end, you and me, yeah. We'll do a group hongi. We'll touch our noses. Okay, Thank you. So hopefully you'll get to share some experiences with some different people and share what you're comfortable with. Oh. Is it karaoke? Cool. Okay, so, and in New Zealand, our hello is kia ora. So kia ora, everybody, and welcome and thank you for coming. So a couple of things we're going to talk about. First thing is, when I talk about the traditional role of a coach, and my brain thinks in pictures, this is what I picture. Okay, so my experience as a young player, whether that was football, cricket, rugby, basketball, was I was under the control of the coach in the environments that I hated the most as a player. I'm sure the coach had a great time, especially when we won, but I did not enjoy it. I was a goalkeeper. When we go to the practical this afternoon, you will see I am a goalkeeper. Yeah, my footwork, the way I play, I'm a goalkeeper. I can't demonstrate things to people. And the reason is I played in a really good team. I grew up in a little town, 5,000 people. And out of that team, we've had 2 players go on and play for New Zealand. Very good. I'm not one of them. Absolutely not. But our coaches had a rule. I was the son of a goalkeeper. As you can see, I'm maybe a little bit bigger than other children. I fill up the goal very well. And our rule was, if we led the game by 9-0, I could go and play outfield. But our team was so good, 8-0, keep the ball so the players don't have to go and goal and replace me. Full time, go home. Thanks. So I stopped playing football maybe 5 years ago properly. 7 years ago, I started playing Sunday League. I play holding midfielder. You would call me like a panel beater. I just run around, kick people, and smash it as far as I can. I enjoyed that a lot more. But back to the point, a traditional role of a coach is to control people, yeah? You've got your little team, you control where they go. We're going to play 3-5-2. The strikers are going to stay as high as they can. Wing backs nice and wide. I want you to keep the ball for as long as possible. If we score, great. When we go for corners, this is what you're doing. Traditional, okay? Gameplay, like playing on the PlayStation. You wonder why children go home and play FIFA, because they want some control and they can't get it at football, so they have to go home and sit on the TV and get some control of their own football, which I think is sad. It's the saddest thing about childhood. So the contemporary modern role of a coach, in my opinion, is somebody who designs fun, enjoyable, exciting experiences and environments for our young people. So I figured out a good picture might be like constructing a playground. And I'll come back to this playground analogy later. But for me, football, when I started playing Sunday League in midfield and smashing people and whacking it long, that was my playground. I loved it. But I was 21 years old. It was too late. I wasn't going to play for New Zealand after that, unfortunately. Maybe if I work with Wolfgang, there's a chance I go to the next World Cup. Probably not. So this is the contemporary role of a coach. When I talk about that, that's the picture I'm thinking of. Okay? Has anyone seen this before? This picture? Yeah, Tony, remember it? Man City away. So Hull City in orange, 2008, they were promoted into the Premier League. They went away to Manchester City, who had just become rich, let's say. And they were 4-0 down at half-time. I don't think they'd won a game up to this point. And at half-time, rather than going into the dressing room, Phil Brown, the manager, brought them all into the centre circle and told them off in front of 20, 30,000 people at their away ground. And he told them off like this. So you have a coach very much in control of the environment, letting out his frustration, venting. I have no problem with Phil Brown, by the way. I'd love to meet him. He's not proud of this moment. But this is a picture example of coach-centered coaching. The coach is in charge, the coach is in control. Later in the season, they play Man City at home, and Hull score the first goal. Jimmy Bullard, who you might have seen on the TV, scored a penalty, and they bring all the lads in, and Jimmy Bullard is obviously taking the mickey a little bit, okay? And the fans are loving it. That's why we love football, and Jimmy Bullard's a character. But this is a really good picture of athlete-centered coaching, which is my first sort of topic. And when I say athlete-centered coaching, it has a really negative connotation because these aren't athletes, these are people. These aren't footballers, these are people. Children, I think, was it Rick made the point before around like what is a player? These aren't our players. These are children who choose, or maybe are forced to by mum and dad, to come and spend time in their week with us in the hope that we can give them a good experience. So when I think of athlete or player or person-centered coaching, I think of this. And our role as a coach is to serve the people that have chosen to spend their time with us. In the same way, if you are a coach developer or a coach educator, your job is to serve the coaches. My job today is not to come here as the bearer of all knowledge and tell you how to coach. My job is to just try and serve you guys by explaining a couple of things that have helped me. That's all I'm trying to do. And it goes on. A teacher's job is to serve their students, etc. Okay, so we're trying to be person-centered. So just a bit of a definition of what athlete-centered coaching is. Okay, defined by a style of coaching that promotes athlete learning through athlete ownership, responsibility, initiative, and awareness. And it is guided by the coach. So the coach is a guide. Yeah? And again, I'll go into another analogy about that shortly. So you're guided by the coach. We are trying to give athletes in our environment an opportunity to participate in decision making and problem solving. And to Debbie's entire point this morning, that is their right as a child. It's not I just turn up and I'm a nice guy. It's their right to have a say. So I have to give them that opportunity. My ego stays outside. My experience is potentially ignored. Players might do things I don't agree with. That's their decision. We're trying to develop their decision making and their problem solving. Okay? And there's a little bit of research around this. Shane Pill is a really wonderful author on this particular topic. So I'd encourage you to dig in a little more if you're interested in that. And I can't do a presentation without mentioning the All Blacks because I'm a New Zealander and it's the only, well, it's not the only thing we have going for us, but it's pretty near. So this is Sir Wayne Smith. He's known around the world as the godfather of rugby coaching. Just like Tony is the godfather of youth development and football, Wayne Smith is the godfather of rugby coaching. Okay, he's predominantly served his time as an assistant coach of the All Blacks, where he won 2 Rugby World Cups. And then most recently, he was our Black Ferns, the women's team's coach, and won a Rugby World Cup with them. And he had a range of different experiences. As a player, he played for the All Blacks as an amateur, so they didn't get paid. They trained on Thursday and played international rugby on Saturday. I believe he played in Bucharest against Romania on a tour. And he spent time in Italy where he was taught another way. In New Zealand, it was very much do what you're told, follow the drills. And he went to Italy and he met Andre Bonamo, and he also spent some time with Pierre Villepro, who's known as one of the great, again, coaching gods of rugby from France. And they introduced him to this other way, this athlete-centered way. Okay, so rather than focusing on passing skills and tackling skills, they focused on decision-making. How do I pass? Whose job is it to tackle? And those sorts of things. Okay, so it works, I guess, would be the way of saying it. If it works for the All Blacks, who have the highest winning record of any professional sports team in the history of competitive sports, it must work with children, or at least we could try and make it work with children. So, in your tables, some reflective questions are going to come up. If your English isn't great, pop your microphones on because you'll get it translated for you. And I want you guys to discuss. I don't mind what the answer is. We're not going to give you the microphone to share it with the room, which means you can share your deepest, darkest secrets and it's safe with the people on your table. Fair enough? So, question number 1. Who speaks the most during your coaching session? Or during your session? Is it the coaches or the players? I'll give you 1 minute. Okay, some good discussion in the room. Question number 2. Okay, question number 2. How do your players give feedback to you and to the group? So like their teammates, okay? How do they give feedback to those people? Question number 2. Okay, so who watched Euro 2016? Euro 2016, yeah? Who watched that? Most of us, cool. So there's a little country that sits sort of beside England. It's not quite Ireland, it's sort of beside it. They're not English, okay, they're Welsh. Have you heard of Wales? Good, okay. They're not English, they're Welsh, okay. In 2016 they made the semi-final of the Euros for a country very, well, it's not that small, but for a country that doesn't normally do those things, very impressive. And if you remember, Gareth Bale at the time bought out I think it was a sign, wasn't it? And he was playing for Madrid. He didn't like playing for Madrid. And it was Wales, number 1, golf, number 2, and Real Madrid, number 3. And you think, where did he enjoy himself the most? And then you look at this picture and you think, as the greatest Welsh player of all time, how incredible to be carrying your country and to be leading your team. And if you ask, well, if you have the pleasure of asking, but if you hear from any of the players who are part of that Welsh team, it was their team. It was the players' team. Chris Coleman, the coach, is very open about the fact he took a backward step. He gave the team to the players. They took ownership. They took the lead. They decided they're going to play a funky formation, a funky style of play that got Bale and Ramsey on the ball as often as possible. And it worked. They got to the semi-final of the Euros. For Wales, that's probably close to winning the World Cup, you would think. Okay, so I think the picture's an important one there. Question number 3, really briefly now, just with the person next to you. What responsibilities do the players have in your environment? The word don't's horrendous. You cannot say playing the game. Obviously they play the game, all right? What other responsibilities do they have? 30 seconds with the person next to you. Okay, next question. How do you know as a coach what your players' needs are? So when you're 10, 12, 16, I think Chelsea have 46 players at the moment in their first team. When they turn up to training or to the game, how do you know what each of them need? 30 seconds. How do you know what they need? Fantastic. And then last question on this one. Okay. When you're speaking to your team, okay, do you primarily ask questions or do you primarily give them instructions? Okay. Last question for now. Fantastic. Okay. Thank you very much for your discussion. It's fantastic to see. Okay, so thank you for that. As I'm probably trying to get across, this talk is not about me. Okay, it's got nothing to do with me. It's got everything to do with you. So if you want to ask questions and talk to the person next to you, go for it. And if you don't, that's fine as well. I'm not going to walk around like a school teacher and say, guys, make sure you're talking about the question. I'm not going to say I couldn't care less, but I couldn't care less. You talk about what you like. This is your conference, not mine. Okay? So thank you for that chat. It was really good. So just a couple of little, I suppose, stories of what you might expect from the coach-centered coach and the athlete-centered coach. So a coach-centered coach will use highly structured drills. Okay? That's the type of coach that puts a cone here with a player and a ball, and a cone over here with a player and the ball, and they pass. They're working on their passing, and they do some passing like that. And you go 10 on the right foot, and then you go 10 on the left foot, and then once you've done that, we go 20 meters, and then 40 meters. Okay, very highly structured drills. Coach is in charge. You do as I say. That's how we approach it. Okay? They give lots of instructions and feedback. Again, I'm not here to dig on any coaches because I have a lot of respect for everyone who's coached the game. But there's a video on YouTube if you want to go and have a look later, and it's Roy Hodgson with the England under-21s, and it's called Coach-Centered Coaching. And he just walks around the pitch and he's just drilling people with information. Make sure you do this. Make sure you do that. You didn't do this. You have to do this to play for England. I'm not here to dig on Roy Hodgson. Again, I'd love to meet him. But that is a sign of a coach-centered coach. They're just drilling and instructing. Okay? They focus heavily on technique, and when I say technique, I talk about a traditional sense of technique. My least favorite one is knee over the ball. Yeah, get your knee over the ball. Oh my God, if a volley comes out to me and it comes here and I try to get my knee over it, oh, I've already made a mistake, haven't I? But it's not like that. I just hit the ball and I hope it goes in. Doesn't matter where my knee is. I just hope it goes in. Some people will shoot with their knee over the ball and some people won't. The Caitlin Clark example being a brilliant one. Okay, they'll focus on results over developing players. I coached a team on Sunday before I came here. First time I've worked with this group. We lost 10-1. I've got some work to do with that group. Yeah, I've got some work to do. But I knew that anyway. The loss on the weekend is irrelevant. Of course it matters to the players. And of course we want players who want to win. But a coach-centered coach is the type of coach when you're 10-1 down who doesn't put their subs on. Or when it's 3-3 and your worst player is sitting on the bench and everyone signed a code of conduct to say that everyone will play an equal amount of minutes and it's 3-3 in this really important under fours game that means everything and you keep them on the bench. That's focusing on winning over development, okay? It does not mean you cannot tell your players not to win, and it does not mean that you can prepare a team to win a game at a certain age. You can absolutely do that. But when winning takes over, and it's happened to all of us, it's happened to me, mainly because I lost a lot, then that becomes coach-centered, okay? And then the last one, or I don't know, is it the last one? They control the speed, structure, and tempo of a session. So you've got your session plan, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes here, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 25 minutes, 1 hour and a half, done. But if you've given them a 5-minute exercise and they haven't got it, why are you moving on to the next one? Maybe to help them, and that's fair enough. But if it's just because your session plan says so, again, you're controlling it. If you've got a 15-minute activity and the players are bored after 5 minutes, don't make that activity last 15 minutes. Go into your toolbox and find something else. It's about them, not about me and my session. I love session planning. I'll talk about that. I have a special 4-colored pen. Black, red, green, blue. It goes everywhere with me. I'm planning sessions all the time. And if that session doesn't work, I have to be brave enough to say that hours I've wasted planning the session are not wasted, but I need to do something different. I can't stay here and just do the session because I want to, because it's mine. That's not how it works with kids. And then the last one, they'll use lots of demonstrations to tell and show. So they'll stand there, you get this a lot with players who are really good at football, and they'll show players how to do it. I'm rubbish at football, so I cannot show players how to do the majority of the things that they would like to do if they want to play at a level much beyond where I was. So I have to use other ways. So an athlete-centered coach is someone who, again, like Jake said, they will use games or games-based constraints-led differential learning approaches. Okay, they'll base it on the game, and I'll talk about that shortly. They will try and ask questions, and they will lead with questions. So again, I could tell you all of this, and you could leave here today, and everyone's happy. But I'd rather you guys thought about things, discuss things, a little bit of peer learning, and I just ask a question. Again, it might look like I'm doing less, and maybe I am doing less. Yeah, maybe I am. But to me, that's the most important way of communicating. Can I ask a question, and then can I listen to the answer? And can I get a feeling of where the players are at? Can I prioritize the needs of each individual learner? I don't know how this translates into Romanian, but there is a saying in English, there is no I in team. Has anyone heard that one before? The letter I, which means me. There is no I in team. Well, no, there's 16 I's in your team. There's 16 individuals or 14 individuals or 10 or however many. Everybody is an individual. So I have to at least have an understanding of their needs. Professional clubs will have a big development plan for each player, yeah, a journey or a pathway. I don't necessarily believe in that either, but I need to have an understanding of the needs of everybody in the group. What they enjoy, what they don't enjoy, what's going on away from the football pitch. If I scream at them all the time and they're being screamed at home, it's probably not very effective. Okay, so I need to think about the individual. A long-term view and emphasise development improvement. My team that lost 10-1 on the weekend on Sunday, we were 7-0 down, I think, at halftime. And I just said, guys, we'll beat this team after Christmas because we play them again after Christmas. We'll beat them then. Today's irrelevant. But between now and then, we've got some work to do to try and close the gap and help us to become a better team with some better players. But it's not about today. We'll just beat them after Christmas. And again, winning to me is quite important, but it's not the most important thing. Take time to observe and analyse. Coaches, for me, and I'm the most guilty of this, we don't take a step back. Yeah, we don't take a step back. Coaches are in the session. Come on, lads, 1 or 2 touch, just like I've asked you to. Come on, I've asked you to do that better. Come on, I've asked you to do that better. Lads, where's the defending? Where's the defending? You can imagine watching a game of football and doing that. I do it every time I watch West Ham because that's my team. I'm screaming at the TV. Normally Kurt Zuma, who's going to get picked on a little bit later. I scream at him a lot. But every other football team, you step back, you analyse and you observe. You watch what's happening. You don't need to say anything. And then when you do speak, they listen, often, times, because it's not just this repetitive noise, probably like what I'm doing to you right now. And so then the last point, you know this man in the middle? Sort of. I've just got to know him most recently through my television screen. David Popovic, Romanian swimmer at the Olympics. And in the UK, the swimming was on 7 o'clock every night for the first week of the Olympics. So I get home from work, make my dinner, and I'll watch Olympics swimming for 3 hours. And David Popovic won gold in the 200 metres. And his coach, I'm sure, is very proud of him, and his parents and everyone. But when you win an Olympic gold medal, you get a photo and there's no coach in there. It's not about the coach. It's about the person who won the gold medal. So I can be so proud of the work that myself and David have done to get him to a point where he can win a gold. But I don't need to be in the photo. But what I'll do as a coach, I'll take that photo home, I'll frame it, I'll put it on the wall, and I will tell everybody that I had the pleasure of knowing David Popovic in and around a swimming pool. That's my job as a coach, is just to be really proud of what they've achieved. Okay? It's not to go, David, get in here, let's get a photo, woo, and then put his gold medal on. It's got nothing to do with any of that. Okay? So I popped him in there. I really enjoyed watching him swim. He's got a funny technique as well, to Jake's point before, technique, whatever that means. But that, as a coach, this is what we want. Framed on the wall. Very proud of that, but you're not in the photo. It's all about the person that you're working with. So, 5 key takeaways. I'll give these to you really quickly. 1, incorporate athlete feedback in your session planning. If your players don't enjoy it, don't do it. If your players have a suggestion on how they could do it, how it could be done better, do it. Ask them during the session, are you enjoying this? Okay, make it about them. So take in their feedback. Even better, get them to plan a session. We'll talk about that a little bit. Set individualized goals within team trainings. This one can be really simple, okay? We're playing a game, 8 versus 8, and you've got a winger, and I know a lot of you will know this, you have a winger who always dribbles the ball, and they always lose the ball when they're dribbling. And the parents on the sideline go, oh, I told him to pass it, and you're screaming, telling him to pass it. You've all got that player, yeah? I have that player in my team. I'm sure you all do as well. So when I go to training, I ask him, okay, what's the job of a winger? Well, score and assist goals. Okay, great. Can you get more assists than the left winger today? Can you get more assists than the other person? Or ask them to set a goal for themselves. Try it, see what happens. They'd probably rather that than you screaming at them, telling them not to dribble all the time. Promote athlete decision-making and autonomy. I can't think of a better example than Debbie's before. Get them to pick the team. You can set a few parameters, make sure everyone plays at least half a game, make sure everyone plays in a position that they're vaguely interested in. Maybe don't keep the goalkeeper in goal the whole season, every game, okay? But give them some decision making. You might have heard the term peer learning. In the training, rather than me giving the player direct feedback, get someone else to do it. If it's the winger who keeps getting tackled, then ask the fullback to give the winger 3 pieces of advice that might help them get past him next time, or that might help her assist a goal. Okay, but you can do that in more creative ways than just screaming at children. Oh, that's my next point. Facilitate peer learning. And then ask open-ended questions and be patient, okay? If I asked you a question at the start and there was no talking and I started panicking, it would lose the point. And you'll notice I left the room a little bit because I knew I'd step in and say something if no one talked. Thankfully you did, so thank you. But just be really patient with it. Who's asked a question of a player before and they look at you like this and don't say anything? All the time. It happens all the time, yeah? Well, you've just got to ask them more questions. They are probably so uncomfortable with being asked a question because they're so used to being told what to do that it's weird for them. It's strange. Okay? So, that's part one. I'm going to run through part two because it's what I'm going to, hopefully, you're going to see this afternoon on the training pitch. First of all, some learning environments. Okay? Who recognizes this as a learning environment? Yeah, fantastic, good. Tony, thank you. Completely unlearning. Absolutely true. This environment here, okay, we have a term in English, okay, stale. You buy some bread, you leave it in the sun, you come back a week later, it's not the bread you bought. It's stale. It's old. It's tough. It sucks. You will not eat it. Stale learning environments. We want to stay away from stale learning environments. We want to move towards whatever this is. And when you look at this, you're thinking something in your head right now. I know you are. I am. I'm sure you all are. This is the place I want to be as a child, isn't it? Yeah? Now, not all of us are fortunate to have incredible places like this, but that's where we want to be as a child. So as a coach who's doing everything to give an environment that the players want to turn up to, I am trying so hard to make it feel like that. A playground, yeah? I'm sure, I'm not going to give too much away, but I'm sure Paul tomorrow will talk about a laboratory. Yeah, a place where you can come and experiment and explore. If you ask me at school, do you want to go to the classroom or the laboratory? 100% of the time you're going to the laboratory, aren't you? Go and tip some things and make an explosion. Yes. I don't want to sit in here. And for particularly young people who struggle with traditional learning needs, yeah, or they have a neurodiversity is what we now call it because we're fully accepting of those people. For people who are neurodiverse and struggle in these environments, that's on us as a coach. I've got a question. Flavius. Yeah, mate.
Cea din stânga pentru părinți. În România, până la o anumită vârstă, și nu cred doar în România, cred că peste tot e așa, doar întreb, hotărăsc părinții. Deci deocamdată părinții hotărăsc până la o anumită vârstă. E foarte frumoasă imaginea din dreapta, doar că părintele nu este impresionat de această imagine, ținând cont de societatea noastră. Vorbim de societatea noastră. Trebuie să ținem cont că orice adaptabilitate trebuie să țină cont de condițiile sociale și condițiile economice și condițiile, știu eu, geografice, de ceea ce se întâmplă acolo. Am o școală de fotbal, am o academie de fotbal și am foarte mari probleme pentru că eu încerc să implementez un mod netradițional de antrenament, un mod în care să întrebăm tot timpul, să îi forțăm să gândească, să creeze anumite conexiuni cerebrale. De foarte multe ori m-am confundat cu probleme gen ăsta nu știe nimic dacă întreabă copiii. Okay. Adică cum ar trebui să facem sau ce ar trebui să facem, ținând cont de ceea ce a zis doamna Debbie. E foarte interesant pentru mine cum aș putea să facem ședințe, le vorbim părinților, azi le spunem, a doua zi e total zero. Și nu e de acum. Sandu știe foarte bine, de 10 ani este așa.
Ok.
Aceeași problemă o am de 10 ani, aceleași ședințe, aceleași discuții, și mă trezesc că copiii pleacă.
Îți mulțumesc pentru...
Întrebare pentru mine e cum să
Facem.
procedăm în contextul
Cum facem? Ok,
acesta
am
de
înțeles.
aici. Acolo în Anglia, în Germania, în Spania, în Franța, probabil e altfel. Suntem români. Asta e cea mai mare problemă.
So, yeah, fully understand where you're coming from. And I probably don't know this challenge as well because in New Zealand, where I'm from, our children spend 90% of the time at this end. So I respect it's not like that everywhere. I think a couple of key things. Number one, the player enjoys the game the most. Do we agree? Hands up if you get asked in your training session, coach, when are we going to play a game? Yeah, all the time. And that's not, don't take that personally, okay? Just relay that to the parents, first thing. They want to play a game. Another one, I had this issue with one particular coach. I led a junior club, and there was one particular coach, and he will definitely not watch this. That's the type of person he was. And he was very much down here. And I found a video, and I can't think of the player. I think they were a French player, and they announced their retirement from football. I'm retiring from football. It's been my life. The reason I'm retiring is because I don't enjoy it anymore. That was what all the video said. Was it Thierry Henry? Well, I should have probably remembered that because he's quite famous, and I like him. So Thierry Henry. So I do not enjoy football anymore. And then I have one of the players in the team, and I got him to make the same video. And the purpose was to do that was to just make him think, are the players enjoying this? Because the player is the most important thing, especially for the parents. And it's going to take a lot of time to break down what parents traditionally perceive as parenting. But that video there, he was a parent of a player in the team and a coach, but it changed his perception straight away. Because then I could open up a conversation where I would go down to his session and I would challenge him on certain things. Like this here being like, throw a ball up and hit it 10 times. You just give players concussion. And I challenged him on that as to how we could maybe make teaching hitting a bit more fun. The answer, foot tennis. You know foot tennis, you hit the ball. And I just asked him to take a step back because he was a guard dog coach. He was in there screaming, come on, hit the ball. I've done it again. Screaming, hit the ball, hit the ball. And he wasn't looking at it. And so I asked him to count how many headers the players did in 5 minutes of throw the ball and head the ball, and in 5 minutes of head tennis. And they headed it more, of course, when the ball was thrown. And then I asked him to count the smiles and enjoyment and all those things. And it was the opposite. There's no smiles when you're hitting the ball or hitting the ball. But then in a game of foot tennis, the ball's up in the air, I'm hitting it, I'm aware, I'm watching, there's space there, bang, goal, 1-0, let's have it. And I just tried to sell it to him that way. I don't think I would have been able to do it without the Thierry Henry video. I think you got to strike people in the emotion a little bit, and I think with him, he just had such a black and white idea of football. He didn't know who Thierry Henry was. He didn't watch football. He'd just been coached to throw the ball and hit it, and that's how he'd been coached, and that's how he was coaching. So, long answer. The other thing, again, I'm not sure on how it looks here in Romania or in Europe. I'm still not sure as a teacher in England how it looks in England. But classrooms are becoming less like this and more like this. And I've found, especially in New Zealand, the more that school has changed, the more that other elements have been able to catch up. So when I went to school, primary school, 20 years ago, I was in here. My nephew, who's 9, he goes to school in an environment that looks like that. And he's got a really terrible teacher, but he's still, even though he's got a bad teacher, his school still looks like that. So I can't answer your question, but find the Thierry Henry video, first thing, and then ask whether it's the parents or the coaches, just ask them to observe. Rick.
Just a quick one on that. In America, the parental influence is really can be horrendous. And in America, it's even worse because it's called pay to play. So they're paying quite a lot of money to go to the clubs. And because of that, they think they are entitled to make opinions, drive the teaching, and they are the worst coaches in the world. The worst. Not to generalize, but one of the things, and Debbie might want to jump in here, but I don't want to take away from Jess's thing. It's really important to set out the values of the club and the team and the coach even before you get the team in, so that the parents know exactly what they're signing up to, what the rules are, and what the penalties are. So clarity is really important if you're using a different approach. So I think so. We can talk later. But,
can I have just 1 minute of my personal opinion? Sorry, Jesse.
Here he comes.
So I think because I'm from this environment and I'm constrained by this socio-cultural context, I would like to say that from my point of view, we need to start from where we are. If we are pointing fingers that parents are not listening, okay, they are not listening, let's go from there. Let's acknowledge the fact that parents are a tough job to manage and start from there. These are the fundamentals that need to be the base of an action plan, of a strategy, which has to be implemented in a club, using, for example, what Rick has said earlier. Thank you. That's all. Sorry.
No, thank you. And Luciano, thank you for your question. Fantastic. And I'd love to talk more about this with you. Oh, good. Awesome. I'll pin it in my diary. I've got time. Okay, so thank you. Really quickly, just going to shoot on to another thing. It ties into what Jake was talking about before. So it's called representative learning design, okay? Does our training represent the demands of the game? And to me, it shouldn't be called something as big and long as representative learning design. The key is the word representative. Does it represent the game? 5 questions you're going to ask yourself, and you're going to give yourself a score between 1 and 5. 1, bad. 5, good. 3, okay. Give yourself a score. Question 1. How closely do the training tasks you design resemble the actual demands of the competitive environment? Just keep it in your head. If you want to do that, fine, but 1, bad. 5, good. 4, pretty good. I put the mannequins in that picture for a reason. %. So if you let them play, it does it for you. You can't resemble the game more than that. Question number 2. Do your training activities ensure that athletes are required to perceive, which means to see, feel, and hear, and then act, which means to do, upon information that is similar to what they will encounter in the competition? Again, if you don't understand, put your headphones on and it will be translated. So just give yourself a score. Question number 3. When you're trying to make a task more simple, so Tony makes a great point around the game being the best teacher. If you're trying to make something more simple and easy, do you ensure that the key elements of the skill and decision making are still represented in the game? So you might think of passing, for example. If I was to make the game, my practice all about passing, does it still represent the game? Two more. Is the learning environment that you create one that encourages exploration, creativity, and problem solving from your athletes? 5 is good, 1 is bad. And then my final question for now, do you ensure that your tasks are not just focused on isolated technical skills, for example, passing, but also tactical understanding and psychological readiness? Again, some big words, so I appreciate if you don't understand, that's okay. Right, cool. So hopefully you've given yourself a score. Nobody else cares what your score is. If you're 1 at everything, that does not mean you're a bad coach. Please don't go home right now. If you got 5 at everything, it also doesn't mean you're a good coach, but we'll get onto that later. Okay? So, a video and 3 questions on the side. Again, maybe don't worry too much about the questions. Just watch the video for me. Can we just make, this one's got some really annoying music, so could you just not have volume? Perfect. Okay, so what we would call an isolated or unopposed practice. Again, I'm not here to tell you what's right or wrong, but for me that is missing a lot of important information that a defender needs to know in a game of football. So if I'm defending in the box and I'm hitting it and there's no attackers around me, and then on Sunday Erling Haaland turns up and pushes me in the back and runs off my, and I'm, oh shit, it doesn't represent that. So I don't need to be good at hitting a ball away from the box. I need to be good at defending in a game of football. Does that make sense? So we'll challenge that a little bit more. You've seen this today. Mark O'Sullivan is a patron saint of Romania, it appears. Okay, so you've seen this today. In the environment, we need representative information. A ball, ideally, a ball, direction, okay, consequence, what happens if. So in a game of football, if I lose the ball and they run down the other end and score, I've conceded a goal. And opponents. That is representative. Okay? And we facilitate the activities that incorporate those things. And we design representative learning environments that facilitate opportunities for learners to develop and adapt to relevant information coupling. That is a lot of words. It basically says, this is how we develop skill. Okay, so in our session design, we want it to replicate the game. We can have a bit of volume for this one, it's a good one. So Phil Foden, you might have heard of him.
It's been coming. City have been all over United. And it's a great ball in. Foden! 2 for Haaland, 2 for Foden. We're only in the 44th minute. This could end any score. Good turn from Haaland. Foden, United thinks he's offside. The flag stays down. 2 Derby Day hat-tricks. 2 born and bred City fans. It's the stuff of dreams.
You were Man City as a youngster. You told me last night, and I won't repeat it. Okay. Sorry, Tony, with the full apologies. As an Englishman, though, surely. Okay, so 3 goals from Phil Foden. All very different goals, but they're goals in the Premier League. Different defenders at different moments of the game. There's an offside line, and VAR, thankfully. Okay, there's offside. There's a goalkeeper. There's all those things. Okay? All of those things are represented in the moment. Okay? So we should try and mimic those environments. And the stress, or what Wolfgang will talk tomorrow about, noise that is placed on the athlete or the individual. Okay? So, goal scoring is the most difficult part of the game. Does anyone agree? Yeah? And they help to win games, usually. So why do we almost always try and teach it in a way that is not very difficult?
Shot, Phil.
Put that on the TV.
Oh no. Oh no. Yes!
Yeah. Okay, two really important players here. Maldini, good player. Maldini, good defender. And Cafu, good defender. It's big and strong. Good at defending, yeah? But that's not Maldini and Cafu, is it? It's a mannequin. And they sometimes stop the goal. They do. They do sometimes stop it. But they don't represent the game. So there is a ball, there is direction, a goal to score in, but key information is missing. And again, I'm just talking about skill. So I'm not saying you can't do this, but I'm talking about developing skill. So, final practice. So people tell me it can't be done. Oh, you can't practice finishing with defenders in there. Of course you can. Okay? This has everything that it needs. There's goal scoring under pressure, there's defenders. But in order to make the task easier, there's some rules. Defenders have some rules that might make it easier for the attackers. There's an offside line. That's important, yeah? We agree, that's really important. We all have that striker that's always offside. It's normally, well, it's me these days. Too lazy. Okay, so it's a representative environment. It can be done. Okay, last one. This is a representative environment. It has all four of those things. Okay, and I told you I'm going to criticize Kurt Zouma. So I'll let you watch the video and then I'll explain it a little bit as we go.
There you go. Good. Stand your ground, Kurt. Move those feet. Well done. Go on. Still alive. What? Keep moving. Yes, Kurt. Smell the kill. Go on. You've got it again, Danny. Here we go. Do it again, Kurt. Well done. Danny, you've got it again. You're on again. Good. Stand. Balance, keep your feet moving, Well done, Kurt. Well done, love it.
1 week later.
So you'll recognise the defender at the beginning and the defender at the end of the same player. The first video came out on a Twitter page called The Coach's Voice in October last year. And 10 days later, West Ham played Aston Villa. And they conceded that goal. And when we talk about representative learning design, now it comes down to the skill of a coach. So if I'm doing 1v1s protecting a mini goal the size of this TV, there is no one for the attacker to pass to. The goal is this big. If I stand here, I'm blocking the goal. Job done. Very good, Kurt Zouma or Jesse. Okay? That's very different to Ollie Watkins sprinting 50 yards and me defending a goal that's this big. Agreed? So it has all of the key information, but it does not necessarily prepare us for the game. And that's Premier League level. So for your young children, play 1v1, absolutely. Do unopposed finishing, absolutely. But just be aware of how representative your activities are. In that last clip, Zouma has to worry about opponents that might be passed to. He has to worry about other runners. He has to defend a big goal. Okay? There's so much more information in the game than in that little 1v1 practice. That's the skill of a coach. Okay, that's down to you. Sorry this is carried on. I will leave them up there, lots of words. If you need to translate it, take a photo, Google Translate, we'll do it for you. Okay? I think Romanian's on there. I used it last night. Thank you very much. Enjoy your lunch.